The U.S. Constitution describes how the U.S. government operates. It's divided into articles and then into sections. Articles are basically like chapters. Article 1 describes how the legislative branch runs. Article 2 describes how the executive branch runs. And Article 3 describes how the judicial branch runs. In order to make amendments to the Constitution or to make changes to the Constitution, 2/3 of Congress, so 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House of Representatives, and 3/4 of the states must pass it. The Bill of Rights were the first 10 amendments in the Constitution. They guaranteed individual rights to the people. The First Amendment guarantees people the freedom of religion, speech, and the press, and also the right to assembly and to petition the government. The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms or to have guns. The Third Amendment allows citizens to refuse soldiers to live in their house unless they give permission. The Fourth Amendment says that the police cannot search or take your stuff without a warrant or probable cause. The Fifth Amendment guarantees the right to a grand jury, protects citizens from self-incrimination, which means they don't have to testify against themselves, protects them from double jeopardy, which means they cannot go to trial for the same crime twice, and guarantees them due process of the law, which means that they have to go through all the steps of the court process before losing their life, liberty, or property before getting convicted and going to prison. It also talks about eminent domain. What that means is the government can take private property without permission and give it to the public as long as they pay for it. The Sixth Amendment is similar. It guarantees people the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to an impartial jury or a fair jury, the right to know the witnesses for them and against them, the right to a lawyer or attorney, and the right to know the charges or accusations against them. The Seventh Amendment is not that exciting. It guarantees civil cases the right to a jury if the cost is worth more than $20. Most everything is worth $20, so it's outdated now. The Eighth Amendment says that you can't have cruel or unusual punishment and that you can't be forced to pay excessive fines. What that means is if you commit a crime for something that's pretty small, you can't be sentenced to death for it. Or if you cross the street at the wrong place, you can't be charged $1 million. The punishment has to fit the crime. The Ninth Amendment says that you have other rights that are not listed in the Bill of Rights or in the Constitution. Like the right to breathe, the right to eat are not listed in the Constitution, but you still have those rights. The 10th Amendment says anything not listed in the Constitution is left up to the states to decide or to the people to decide. For example, education is not talked about in the Constitution. What that means is that the states or the people are in charge of making decisions about education. The principles of government. Popular sovereignty is when the people control the government. Limited government means that the government cannot become too powerful. Limited government means the government cannot become too powerful. Federalism is when power is shared or divided between the national and state governments. Separation of powers. There are three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. They each have their own powers and responsibilities. Checks and balances. Each branch limits and is limited by the other branches. If you look at this chart right here, you can see that each branch, the legislative, judicial, and executive, have different responsibilities, and they have different ways to check the other branches. Judicial review means that the Supreme Court can declare laws written by the legislative branch and executive orders given by the president unconstitutional. If they are unconstitutional, the laws and executive orders are voided, which means they are no longer in effect. The court case Marbury versus Madison established the principle of judicial review. Rule of law means that the law applies to everybody. Nobody is above the law. Due process of the law means that everybody has rights that cannot be taken away until they go through the court process, which means they are arrested, accused, have a trial, are found guilty, and they receive their sentence. People have these rights listed in the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, including right to an attorney, trial by an impartial or fair jury, and a speedy trial. This is the end of Unit 2. The next unit is Unit 3 in the following video.